a containment on a 3.2 square mile mountain. And to let you know that we had a jumper off a Veterans Bridge, and we'll give you just a little bit of information on that. So the suspect that has been identified by our Cooney County Coroner's Office, Coroner Duke Johnson there, has been identified as Wes Val Rowley, date of birth of May 1st, 2005. As of right now, and this is all very, very preliminary, we've had a lot of resources at the crime scene. We've been working through the night, so many of these facts are subject to change. We believe that Rowley has prior residence in California, Arizona, and Idaho. We believe he.
The difference between an average morning and a Hardee's morning is hearty goodness that lasts till lunchtime, like our
And of those 5 interactions, we've had 3. Coeur d'Alene Police had 2. They were very, very minor in nature. They had to do with more trespassing. He was trespassing at a location. He was asked to leave, and he cooperated. We had some welfare checks on Rowley, and very, very minor. We don't show any criminal history for Rowley. We do have some social media presence for for Rowley. Find it disgusting to call him a Mister, but we don't have any much to go on. Here's some of his social media postings that were recently removed from social media. I believe this one was Instagram, and we have some copies of this that Lieutenant Mark Ellis will distribute. Where we're at with the crime scene. The crime scene is active. We still have the suspect's vehicle that is up down an embankment of the mountain. Deputies who responded on scene to protect life and engage the suspect thought it would be in their best interest to get rid of what they thought was Rowley's vehicle. So they had the frame of mind to push it over the side so he couldn't come around and get in that vehicle and flee. So we have not been able to find any manifesto. We have not been able to inventory the vehicle, although people that have seen the vehicle do believe it appeared as if he was living in the vehicle. There was a lot of debris that's in the vehicle. So that's all we have on that. Like I said, again, we have not verified or found any manifesto. We have not done an inventory of that vehicle. I'd like to give you an update on the fire that we believe Rowley started. Rowley was found to be in possession of a flint starter, and we believe that was his method for starting the fire that eventually led to firefighters responding. So as of right now, the fire is at 26 acres. It has not grown. It is a slow progress because it's very difficult terrain to get assets, ground assets up there. They are putting, Idaho Department of Lands is putting a lot of water on it from aerial supports, so that's going rather well. They believe they'll have a fire line around it by dark tonight. There are no structures that are threatened. Again, I'd like to say that last night about 11 p.m., we did receive information that an individual jumped from Veterans Bridge. That is not related to this situation whatsoever. We don't find any nexus to the murdering of the two firefighters and injuring of one. Now we have some of our incident commander who was here last night. That was the incident command of the scene. We have some of our SWAT operators that were here last night, and we had about 27 containment points on this mountain. And just to give you an idea, when you're setting up a containment in a urban setting, you might have 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks that you're setting up a containment on. But when you are setting up on a mountain, that just provides a lot more difficult dynamics than if it were a city block. So we, to the 27 containment points, we had 2, 3, 4 officers per containment point. And then we have a primary containment point where we believe the suspect is. And then we have a secondary containment point. And we absolutely utilized every resource that responded to the command post. And I do have the incident commander from last night if there's any questions. Kevin and Jeremy Heil, Kevin Smart, can you come up here just to be here just in case somebody has any questions? And yeah. At this time, we can't locate a criminal record for this individual. We've had interactions with him, but we don't find a criminal record with him. Also, we don't find that there's any nexus to any Islamic Jihad, which is also being disseminated on social media. We don't find that there's a nexus to that either. Yes, we're going to take questions. It appears that he shot himself. Yes. We have information that he at one time wanted to be a firefighter. So we don't know if there's a nexus to that desire and what happened yesterday, but there is information that we received that he at one time wanted to be a firefighter. So we're still processing the scene. It's going to take a few days to do that, especially with the current fire that's there. So, John?
Sheriff, have they had any communication with fire there?
We have checked some of the fire entities here, and we have not located where he had either put in an application or put in some sort of a interest form. We have not found that yet. So that, yeah, we have not found that.
One more question. There's a video on Instagram. Was this posted right before the ambush?
Well, it was discovered right before, but I don't know how long it had been there. Yeah, no, we don't have any indication of any motive at this time. And we, certainly we will continue to investigate that, but obviously we go on intent. And so, but we will certainly find out, or if there's any evidence to believe that there was a motive, we will do that. And I think an inventory of the vehicle would be a good place to start. We just don't know. Yeah, we just don't know. The gentleman, what? Has not been determined yet. Lady in the green?
Sheriff, for the prosecutor, you mentioned that he had interactions with law enforcement, but how do you have interactions with firefighters?
We did not check to see if he had any interaction with firefighters. We do know that he did contact the firefighters when they came on scene, and there was a discussion. So, so we're still in the process of investigating that part of it. Gentleman in the blue in the back.
Sheriff, going talk to me about, while you're sheriff, talk to us,
Well, we're trying to collect any and all information, and those social media posts are what we call open source information. So this is all in an effort to find out intent, to find out if there was any other, if there was a motive or whatever the case may be. But yes, absolutely. Part of our Kootenai alerts system, we sent out a text, I believe, a 5-mile radius, and I encourage people who live or frequent the area to sign up for Kootenai alerts. So, well, yes, yep. The gentleman in the blue.
Sure, the welfare trips that you guys initiated.
Yep.
Were they done given by a relative, parent calling you to check on them, or are they concerned about mental health?
No, it was generally a reporting party who called and saw a vehicle that was either parked near their property or on their property. One was a restaurant where he appeared to be residing at. He was asked to leave and he complied. So none of them that we have at this time were called in from a relative. They were called in from a property owner or passerby. The gentleman there in the it appears right now we have a shotgun that was used, but we're still processing the scene.
Obviously, shotgun is not a sniper.
Correct.
So what kind of weapon that was?
Well, we're still processing the scene, but let me kind of set the scene for everybody. When you're in a rural area and you're heavily treed, heavily brushed, and when you're taking fire, then it just adds a whole different dynamic to the situation. So what was reported by people on scene, by peace officers on scene, that they believed they were taking sniper fire, yes. And that's where that is. Lady in the black. Can you give me that first part again? Well, we had information that we had an idea who that person might be, but we always defer to the coroner's office to make sure that we have a positive identification on the individual. People borrow people's car, people use people's phones. Yeah, so we always want to make sure that we have a positive identification before we make any type of release. So this lady on still under investigation. If that is the case, he did not use his real name. So, but it certainly will be part of the investigation. But we had an individual called, a male, and he did not use the suspect's name. So. There was an interaction with the firefighters. Correct. It had something to do with his vehicle being parked where it was. So, yeah. The gentleman in the blue in the back. Right. Well, we know that some rifled slugs were used, and a rifled slug is a pretty big projectile. Anybody know off the top of their head how many grains a rifled slug is? Oh. Yeah. So generally going to be a 1 ounce piece of metal. But we also have some fragmentation of something. So it's still early on. You know, we have some smaller projectiles, and we don't know if that was a fragmentation of one of the rifled slugs or another weapon. Like I said, we are still processing that scene. The firefighters are putting water on it, so we're still processing that. Yes, sir.
Sheriff, can you tell us how sophisticated you think this ambush was? Or do you think this was an interaction that went down? One more thing, we were just right outside the scene. We saw a firefighting vehicle come down three completely flat tires. Were spikes used? Was that part of the ambush?
No, part of once the rounds started to exchange back and forth, and when deputies got on scene, part of the theory was we don't want him to be able to circle back around and get into either one of the fire trucks or his own vehicle. So deputies disabled the trucks and they pushed over the suspect vehicle off the side of the mountain.
I mean, that just gives you a sense of how chaotic the moment was.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Disabling crippled their own vehicles so that the suspect is on scene and elusive wouldn't be able to circle back and use it.
Right. And we just don't, you know, we just don't know in many cases, even if it's in an urban setting in a retail shopping center, how many suspects there are. Because we're going to get different information and we have to be able to evaluate that information to see what's credible, what's not credible. We always want to err on the side of caution, but initial reports were what there was more than one suspect. Right here in the Yeah, we're still processing the scene. So we know that there was a shotgun used. Absolutely. 100%. We know that for sure. So we cannot find any evidence that he has had any type of survivalist training. Now, he did grow up in from what we understand, he did grow up in a arborist family, and that they climbed trees. And we did have reports that he was shooting at first responders via a tree. So he does have experience climbing trees. Yeah. Yeah. So what happened? Firefighting and EMS channels here in Kootenai County are not what's the word I'm looking for? They're not encrypted. Law enforcement channels are encrypted. So pretty quickly, there was audio of the help call that came out and was broadcasted on social media, and that is just really hard on the families. Had they heard that, and I don't know if they did or didn't, but had they heard that, they would be able to identify their voice of their loved one and just make a chaotic situation more chaotic. So that's one of the. I don't know. I wasn't involved in that part of it. Yeah, I do not know. Lady in the black there. There was an interaction. So they arrived on scene. The initial call was about approximately 1:20. They arrived on scene. I'm going to guesstimate, but I would say probably about 13:50 or about 10 minutes until 2 o'clock. Somebody.
Question I have is, welfare checks. What
Yeah, he cooperated on each one. He was told that, hey, the owner is asking you to leave. He left. Um, there's certain criteria that we have to meet to be able to engage in somebody's uh, well-being, and he did not meet that requirements at the time. So, yeah, Jeremy. That'll be part of the autopsy. Yes.
How long is your drive? So also just, I know some of what the recreation area, so how many people have
Well, it is a popular trail. As far as how many people actually, Lieutenant Klinkefus, do you have any idea of how many people might use the? It's like 25 miles of trail up there.
It's around the Sunday afternoon, there could be a couple hundred citizens up there, folks use dirt bikes up there that night, mountain bikes very popular. I don't know exactly how many were there at that moment, but there could have been several hundred on the mountain.
will they rescue, like the law enforcement company help rescue people now?
There were people that were still coming down the mountain, and this is at approximately 15, 30 hours, or about 3:30 yesterday. So people were still coming off of the mountain.
For the Instagram photo that you, or the story that you gave us, was this Instagram deleted? Is social media with your wife now, or is that by your doing, or what was?
Preliminary information is that we believe it has been wiped, but we don't know by who. Yeah. The lady in the rust color.
What sort of role federal agencies play in what we got yesterday?
Yeah, they were very, very helpful in providing assets, providing ground assets, and providing aerial assets. Uh, like I said yesterday, we did have 2 helicopters that had a sniper in them. Um, they were very, very helpful in real-time location of the suspect's phone. That was very helpful. And they were there not to take over anything. Each one of them came up to us and said, hey, what can we do to help? We're here as a resource. So we believe they were very, very helpful.
Can you just run through social media posts that are now no longer online? Of course, we've got this Instagram story, but we can't see the posts now.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, it's either they've been removed or the account has been deleted. So we don't know. We know at one time it was there, but now we know it's gone. So I don't know what previous posts were there.
Sheriff, has the suspect's family been contacted, and if so, are they cooperating with the investigation at all?
The suspect's family knows of the situation, and they're still processing the situation also.
Sheriff, is this the ammo outfit that you guys found in it?
No, this is a previous post.
Then at the ATF, did he tell you guys when he had that shotgun, that he respect for the law that shotgun?
We haven't got there yet. Yeah, like I said, it's still pretty hot up there, but we'll get all that information. We just don't have that as of right now. Well, it does provide a challenge in the rural area like that, but obviously we would not. We want them to identify the target first before they took any action. But it was an active shooter situation, and we have radio traffic where there was an exchange of gunfire between suspect and deputies. So we want to make sure that we have target identification before we use any type of lethal force. So.
Are you more convinced that he's active today than he was yesterday? Can you just sort of, we heard that the fire was close,
Yeah, yep. They said that the fire approached within 50 feet, and at that
I leave around 5:30, sometimes 6. It's about 92 miles.
Partial County 7938.
From the area. So that was the decision that was made at the time. Yeah, it's not the perfect situation, but sometimes you have to make the best choice, and that was the best choice at that time. All right, anybody? We don't believe he was in the tree at the time, but we believe that he engaged deputies from the tree. Correct, yeah.
Last time you mentioned that there was a belief that he was running from spot to spot. Is that been determined that he would have to go across the mountain?
Still under investigation. You know, we want to make sure that we do a complete search of that area, that there's no guns left over. So still under investigation.
And then, is there anything you want the public to really understand about this, or do you want them to not do, or?
Well, we're still processing the whole situation, but until the Coeur d'Alene Fire Department and the Kootenai County Fire Search and Rescue, until they put out a press release on where to give, I would encourage people to wait for that. There is one particular entity called they just changed their name, but it's called Kootenai County Red and Blue Line. I know them for a fact. I know that the board of directors do not take any money from them whatsoever, but I can anticipate we'll probably have people that are going to take advantage of the situation and try to scam people out of money for it. So I encourage people to wait until there's an official press release from both of those entities on where to give.
Really early in the wildfire investigation, but the indication that it's technical rocks on the mountain.
Yeah, right now we're still trying to contain it. It's not contained at this time. So until we can get it contained and get some investigators up there, then we just don't know at this time. Yep. Well, we don't know exactly how many shots were fired at this time, but at the beginning of this event, we knew that it was tragic, and we knew that there were reports that there were multiple shooters. Whether that turns out to be or not, in an operation like this, you always want to plan and prepare for the largest event, and then it's easy to scale down. But if you don't prepare for the larger event and you need more resources, it's not a good situation. So the train of thought is always prepare for a larger event. But in this particular case, a active shooter in a rural area, that just provides a lot of different challenges. And I know that Captain Heil, part of the strategy was that we're going to protect that west side of that mountain because that's where the homes are. And we're going to have probably triple as many personnel on that side. And if he wants to go east, or if he wants to go in the fire, let him. But there's a lot of different dynamics that you have to consider in a rural containment and a rural active shooter. Jeremy, do you have any questions, or do you have anything you'd like to add on how the challenges of what happened? Okay.
Sheriff, we often hear about cell phone data being used after crime to determine location of people. Are you guys actively, for lack of a better word, pinging him as the crime unfolds?
Yes.
Right now, and I guess how those first responders are doing after all this?
They're in shock. Yeah, absolutely. It's they're in shock and they're still processing it. Yeah, they're in shock. Well, right now we are going to support them in anything that they need. Obviously, getting the families together and to determine how they want to memorialize their loved one, and we will be there to support that.
Follow up on my pending question, sir.
Sure.
You have emergency agreements with cell providers for that kind of capability?
Yes.
And what do you do to enact that? You make a call and say, you got to do this?
There are certain conditions and requirements that need to be met, but this was certainly one of those cases. Yeah.
The drone units were very effective. Each agency that helped us out had their own drone with different capabilities. And in the end, we were able to locate and verify where the body was when with the drones from the different agencies that were here. Jeremy Heil, Captain. Hyle.
All right. We'll take 2 more questions.
Sheriff, I may have missed it earlier, but what exactly was the connection to
We just don't know. We don't know. We know that he was a transient here. We knew that he lived here for the better part of 2024. But as far as when he got here, why he was here, why he chose this place, I don't know. He has relatives in the Priest River area, but I don't know why he chose that. We don't find any nexus to anything else. Maybe we'll find more once we do an inventory of the vehicle, but as of right now, we don't know. And then one more question. Yes. Yeah. Yes. All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming out and sharing this story with the public. So thank you.
Okay, so I know that I am missing some information because I think they had a press conference earlier, and I don't feel like watching another press conference. So I'm going to go to this article. If I can find it. Hold on. Let's see. If I can find this article that'll fill me in because I'm at a loss right this minute. What happened to my article? Okay, there it is. Sorry, I look a hot mess. It was a hard day. I didn't go to bed till 1 this morning. I was on for 5 hours last night. And I had to pick my husband up from the airport and drive to Columbia. I'm just beat. Okay, so apparently the person's name is Wes Rowley. He's the one that ambushed the firefighters. If you came in late, they're saying that really they don't really know a lot, honestly, the way it seems. But the little that they do know is that he wanted at some point to be a firefighter. And I guess he didn't meet the qualifications for it, or either I don't know if he actually went through the training and failed. I have no idea. They didn't say any of that. They just said he wanted to be a firefighter at one point. That he was a transient. They think he was living out of his vehicle. Okay, so it says the man accused of fatally shooting firefighters as they responded to a call for a brush fire on Sunday has been identified as he's 20 years old, Wes Rowley. Rowley is believed to have set that fire in order to lure the firemen in. The incident sent the area around Canfield Mountain into shelter in place on Sunday as multiple agencies work to save the first responders and that were shot. Do they say how many? Because maybe they said that in the first press conference. So the sheriff of Cooten County Sheriff's Department told reporters on Sunday during the press conference that law enforcement found a man dead, identified as Rowley, with firearms at the scene while searching for one or more individuals believed to have shot at firefighters. It is unclear whether Rowley was eventually killed by cops, but now they're saying that he took his own life. 2 firefighters were killed and a third was injured. That was previously reported. A spokesperson for, Kootenai Health, which is treating the injured firefighters, declined to provide any other details about their condition due to the HIPAA laws. We do believe that the suspect started the fire, and we do believe that it was an ambush, is what the sheriff is saying. They believe him to be the only one that did this, that he didn't have any help doing it. Let's see. I have another story that I have to do, but I'm not going to do it in this one. So let me get this one together so I can do the other one. I don't want to see that. I have a headache. Let's see if I can find anything else out there. Let me share.
All right, y'all, we have some new information this morning in regard to the Idaho firefighter ambush. We now know the identity of the assailant responsible for this. Authorities say that 20-year-old Wes Rowley intentionally set a brush fire on Canfield Mountain near Coeur d'Alene. When firefighters responded, he opened fire, taking the lives of 2 and sending a third to the hospital, where, as I'm seeing in reports, he may still be in surgery, but don't hold me to that. Also, just to let you know, I have a portion of the 911 call that I'll play for y'all in a moment. Now, according to police, as they moved in, they too were under sniper fire, which delayed any firefighting efforts. They couldn't even reach the fire until around 7:30 p.m., hours after the first shots were fired. Authorities believe that Rowley acted alone. They believe he was running and moving while firing, which is why they initially thought there might have been more than one person. Wes's body was found near his weapon, but it's still unclear whether he took his own life or was shot by law enforcement. And because the wildfire was closing in, officers had to quickly scoop up his body before it was lost to the flames. Now, as for the blaze, it's being called the Nettleton Gulch Fire and has grown to 26 acres, up from the 20 it was on my last report last night, and it's still burning through steep, rugged terrain. Aircraft, tankers, and a full incident team are now working on the scene. What helped track the suspect down, though, was his cell phone. According to a former FBI agent, the phone's movement stopped about 90 minutes after the ambush began, giving officers a clue as to his location. That right there likely ended the standoff, though, as I said, the official cause of death is still unknown.
However, while business continues here.
So where does the investigation go from here, Alex?
Hi, Kara. Well, investigators have been streaming in here over the last couple of hours down this rural road that goes up to the trailheads where all of this unfolded less than 24 hours ago. Firefighters have been streaming in as well. Their goal today is to put this fire out. It was very smoky this morning. The smoke is lifted with the inversion layer going a bit, but they want to get the fire out and get into the area and look for any more weapons that could have been left behind by the shooter. Investigators believe that there may be some weapons that were left behind that are in the area, and they want to know the why. We now know the suspect identified, according to law enforcement sources, as Wes Rowley, but they don't know the why at this point, Kara, we understand, of why targeting, why ambushing firefighters, that they have not figured out.
So what more do we know about the firefighters in this tragedy, Alex?
Well, we know that when they arrived, they came here, and this was just a regular call like they get all the time here in the mountains above Coeur d'Alene, that this is a popular hiking trail area of a bunch of trails. They came in, they had the call of a small wildfire. It was putting up not a ton of smoke. They got into the area, and they were immediately fired upon. Of the firefighters who were hit, 2 were killed. 1 was critically injured. We understand now stable. He went into surgery last night, but is recovering in the hospital right now. But they were hit almost immediately by sniper fire coming in. The sheriff last night then gave the green light to anybody who had a clear shot to take out that sniper who was hitting the firefighters. We don't know if it was a police bullet or if it was suicide. That they have not figured out yet when they found his body here in these woods.
The Associated Press is now identifying
I
the
was like,
suspect
ain't nobody
as
gonna
Wes
show his picture?
Rowley. News Nation is working to independently confirm that. He was found dead after killing 2 firefighters and shot another one who is now fighting for his life. The shooter essentially lured in these firefighters by starting a fire.
Okay, I played that enough yesterday. Okay, y'all. So I'm gonna get up out of here, but thank y'all so very much for coming in. I will have another video. Maybe by 7, or I may just put it up tomorrow. It was already recorded. But thank y'all so much for coming in. I do appreciate it. I was reading your comments while I was sitting here because I can't see the screen at all when it comes to the comments. These eyes are bad today, y'all. So y'all take care, stay safe, continue to pray, plan, and prep. I love you, but God loves you more.